Hey ho, it's Joe, and today, as you can see by the title, I am doing a video that I'm afraid to admit. Very afraid. I've got my coffee and let's talk about this, because we need to. Okay, so before I go ahead and get started, I just wanted to talk a little bit about why I didn't post a video last week. Now, if you guys saw my coffee talk on Wednesday last week, I told you about my cat was missing, and she is a part of my family. She is a huge part of my life, and you know, she got out for quite a few days, and we've been kind of how do I explain this? She got out on Sunday, so she got out on Mother's Day, and she didn't come back, or we didn't find her until Thursday. So it was like late Thursday night, early Friday morning that we found her. So we brought her home, and then I was going to post a video on Saturday, but however, I got a little caught up in work and everything like that. And Sunday the video was going to go up. That sun is really bright coming through my window. So Sunday, I was going to post a video up, but I got a little bit caught up in my birthday festivities, because my birthday was on Sunday. And so I got a little caught up in all the festivities there. A couple of friends of mine took me out to go see a movie, and then after the movie I went to go out to dinner to eat with my husband, my brother, and his wife. And so, I just got caught up in everything on Sunday, and it was just a little crazy and chaotic. I feel like my hair is a mess, though. Anyway, so that's why I didn't really post any videos last week. Last week was just a crazy, chaotic week for me. And the sun is changing again. But otherwise than that, last week was just a little chaotic. So we're jumping right back in, and we're going to go ahead and do this. So as you can see by the title, this is my TBR. So these are all the books that I have on my bookshelf that I have not read yet. Before I go ahead and fully jump right in, I want to explain something a little bit. So I do have some actual physical books on my shelf that I have not read. However, I have read an actual copy of the book, so I'm not going to include that in my TBR, or in this list. But I have compiled the list, and we're going to do it. It's a long list. This is going to feel like this is going to be a long video. So let's jump in. I'm first off going to start right here. I'm not going to pull them all out. But this is the Throne of Glass series, all right here. These I physically have not read. My husband has read them, but I have not. So we're starting there. Throne of Glass series. Also, the Court of Thorn of Roses series. The first one's not up here, but yeah, it's there. So the first round of books that I have that's on my TBR, this is Masquerade by Melissa de la Cruz, and also Revelations by the same author. This is a series. I haven't really gone much into this series. I'm not really sure what it's about. Here we go. Okay. So this series is basically about vampires. Vampires go missing. That's what I know about it. That's all I know about it. I want to say I received these as a gift a long time ago, and I just never got around to reading them, but they are on my TBR list. The next book that is on my TBR list is On the Road by Jack. I'm not going to say that name because I feel like I'm going to butcher it. But this was a gift to me about 6 months ago, actually, from somebody I no longer work with. I haven't really seen him since he gave me this book, but this follows a young guy who is like a drug addict or an alcoholic. I'm not exactly sure what it's about, but I think it's more like a biography or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, it looks like it's more like a biography, or like an autobiography, or something like that, but this is definitely on my TBR because I've read a lot of things about it. I don't know much about it, but I have read it. It's really good, really good. So the next book on my TBR is Everlost by Neil Shusterman. Now, I don't know much about this. This was a suggestion by somebody who works at a bookstore, and one of my local bookstores in the area. They said that it's really, really good, and it's a whole huge series. So definitely need to read this and get the next books in the series as well. Next we have The Girl's Guide to Witchcraft by Mindy Klasky? I'm not sure how you want to say that. So this, I haven't really read much about this, but what I do know is that this girl, she buys a house and she ends up finding this mysterious looking room, and it's filled with a bunch of like witchcraft and things like that. So it sounded interesting, so definitely wanted to check it out, but I haven't got around to it yet. The next book on my TBR, which I'm a little afraid to admit this because it is by one of my favorite authors, and that is Unraveled by Alison Noel. I have not read much about this book. I read the inside cover. It sounded so interesting. That's why I picked it up. But I'm not sure if it's a series. Maybe it is. I'm not exactly sure. But Alison Noel is one of my favorite authors. It doesn't say there was a... I don't think this is a series. I think it's just she just wrote this one random book. I don't know. We'll see. That's not a book. Okay, so the next book on my TBR is In the Woods by Hannah French. I haven't really read much about this. I know that it's a thriller. I'm not really big into thrillers. I haven't really been a big thriller fan my whole life. But this was one of those ones that somebody recommended to me, and I bought it, and I just haven't gotten around to reading it yet. So, kind of excited to read this one. I'm not going to lie. This is actually going to be in one of my TBRs for probably by the end of the year. I do know that. Next one is In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware, or War, however you want to say her name. I say Ware. I don't know much about this book. My sister-in-law actually recommended it to me. What I do know, it's basically a bachelorette party gone wrong. This is definitely one of those I'm really excited to read. I think I'm going to end up putting this in my October TBR. Not exactly sure. Next one, I'm afraid to admit this, because again, it's by one of my favorite YA authors, and I'm surprised I haven't read it yet. And that is Teardrop by Lauren Kate. Now, I don't know much about this. I picked this up. Oh, I actually started reading it. I picked this up at a Dollar Tree, actually, to be honest with you. And I went back to go do reviews. I just noticed it was by Lauren Kate, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to have this book. So I picked this up, and I haven't actually finished it, but it looks like I started reading it, but I didn't finish it. So definitely, gotta finish that, right? So the next book is another one of those. My husband is actually reading this, I think. This is another one of those that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and that is Escape Under the Forever Sky by Eve Yola. I'm not even going to say that name. I'll just let you show that to you guys. So I don't know much about this, but my husband said that it follows like a young girl who is going through like the struggles of life, and I believe he said it was like she was in like the foster care program or something like that, or she got kidnapped or something. I'm not exactly sure. He didn't really tell me much about it, but this is definitely one of those ones that is on my TBR list. So the next two books, and yes, I'm putting these together because they are part of a series, is Awakened and Burned. These are from the House of Night series. I have read all the way up until Tempted, but I have not read these two. Now, before I go ahead and jump into these two, I want to read the whole part of the series again, you know, from start to finish. I believe I got to, what was it? Betrayed. No, I think I got to Hunted, and that's as far as I got. So I'm almost there to these ones. But these are going to be definitely on my TBR, and I'm hoping to get to these by the end of the year. So we'll see. So the next book on my TBR is one that I bought last year, after Halloween, and that's Hocus Pocus, a whole new sequel. And a lot of people raved about this and whatnot, so I have heard a lot of mixed reviews about it. So people say that either you love it or you hate it. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to be with it, but I loved Hocus Pocus, and I feel like I have very high expectations for this. So, because Hocus Pocus is one of my favorite movies as I was growing up as a kid, and I have very high expectations for this. So, this better be good, or I'm going to be very sad. The next one is Moon Chosen by PC Cast. Now, I picked up this book one day, and I started reading it, to be honest with you. Wow, I got pretty far actually into it. I got to chapter 7. But this is one of those books that I actually went to go pick up in my local library. I started reading it, and I'm like, hey, I really kind of like this. I want to pick up my own copy of it. So I picked up my own copy, and I started reading it again. But then I never finished it. You know, it seems like the story of my life. I never get to finish any of the books that I buy. But this is definitely one of those ones that I'm hoping to get by the end of the year. There are other books into the series, and I feel like I'm a little behind on it, but I definitely want to read this because it is by PC Cast. It's one of my favorite authors. So the next book on my TBR is The Warrior Heir by Cynthia Williams Chima. She has become one of my favorite authors. She wrote the Seven Realms series, which was amazing, and this is one of those that after I picked up her first books, started reading them, I started doing more research on her and discovered she has more. So I found, this was one of those gifts that I got for Christmas and whatnot. So my husband's bought this for me for Christmas, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet. There is a whole complete set, a whole complete series, and I found the fourth one, I believe, at a Dollar Tree. So I'm starting to collect the whole series so I can read it, and I'm very, very excited. But I feel like this is going to be one of those books that I'm going to get to once I finish all the other books on my TBR. And the next book that I have is The Almost Moon by Alice Sebold. That's how I'm going to say that name. So if you guys are not familiar with Alice Sebold, she is the author of The Lovely Bones. This is one of those ones I also picked up at the Dollar Tree. And I don't know really much about this. It almost, by reading like the inside piece here, it almost seems like it's a thriller. It has to do with a mother and daughter and whatnot, so I don't really know much about it, but I'm very, very excited to check it out and read it because it does sound interesting. Oh, I've got one more stack. One more stack. Okay, go ahead and jump right into this last stack. Next book on my TBR is 'Tis the Season to be Murdered by Valerie Wolstein. Not exactly sure. I don't know much about this. This was one of those ones that my mom had, and I was like, hey Mom, can I have that book? She's like, yeah, go ahead. So we don't know much about it, but kind of excited. It sounds interesting. This will definitely be in my December TBR. I can tell you that right now. Okay, so the next book that I have is A Writer's Diary by Virginia Woolf. That's how I'm saying her name. I don't know much about this. This is one of those that the title to me sounded interesting, so I picked it up. I think I bought this like 50 cents at my local bookstore. So this is one of those ones that, you know, it was just, it was intriguing, and I read a little bit of things about it. There's a lot of on Goodreads and things like that. So we'll definitely get to this hopefully by the end. Alright, so the next 3 books that I have that I'm hoping will be coming off this list by the end of the year. That is The Second Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants Girls in Pants, third summer of the Sisterhood, and I just recently picked up Forever in Blue, the fourth summer of Sisterhood. This was, this one and the next book I'm going to talk about was actually I must call it a birthday gift, because my husband and I went to our local bookstore on my birthday, and he said pick out a couple of books. So I ended up picking up two. The next book I'm going to talk about is another one of those. Again, I don't know much about these. I am still reading the first one, as much as I hate to admit that. I am almost done with the first one, and I am very excited to get to these ones. I'm excited to see where it's going to go and whatnot. So this one will definitely be in my June TBR. So the last book I have on my TBR is The Children of Blood and Bone by that author. I'm not going to say the name because I feel like I'm going to butcher it. But this is one of those ones that everybody's talked about. Some people say that it's a remake of Beauty and the Beast. Maybe. I'm not sure. Retelling of Beauty and the Beast. I am a huge fan of Beauty and the Beast. That's why I picked this up. But I feel like that's wrong. Maybe it's Cinderella. I don't remember. I'm going to have to do more research on this, most definitely. But this is one of those ones that a lot of people here on BookTube have talked about, and I'm very excited that I have my hands on it and I'm going to be able to read it. This is definitely a book that I have been looking forward to reading. So that is my TBR list, guys. I feel like that was a lot of books that I just talked about. But yeah, I'm not going to list all the books that I mentioned down below. I'm actually going to link you guys over to my blog where I'm going to be doing a blog post about them and whatnot. So yeah, don't forget to check out that down below so you guys can go ahead and take over my blog and check all that out. Don't forget to check out all my Goodreads because I'm going to list all these books in a TBR book list on Goodreads. That way so you guys can follow along with me as I hopefully get all these books read by the end of the year. So I have like less than 7 months to do this, so I'm very excited. Let's go ahead and do it, right? Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you like my weird, bubbly, quirky personality, which doesn't shine through very often, but it does once in a while, go ahead and hit subscribe because you know you want to, because you want to see me read all these books and see if I can do it by the end of the year, right? So let's do this. So yeah, I post videos probably about once or twice a week, and if it's not once or twice a week, it's at least once a week. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, everybody.